America, in the daily face-palming induced by our national constant embarrassment, it does feel good to know that sometimes we're not the only ones. What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here. And yeah, today we're going across the pond, as I promised in the last video. We got to talk about Nigel Farage. Now, he's the leader of the Reform UK PLC, supposed to be a party. We'll get to that later on. And the reception he got when he tried to start a Jewish alliance within the Reform Party. Yeah, watch this.
The Torah says to love the stranger, for we were once strangers in Egypt.
My ancestors led pogroms to incite our refugees.
Let him speak.
My mother didn't fight the Muslim fascists in Cable Street for this. An attack on one minority is an attack on all, I know.
Yes, people. Yes. Those people protesting are from a Jewish group called Naamod. That's the best I can pronounce it. They accuse Farage and Reform of using this new branch of the party as a cover for targeting other minorities. Like this. Reform used phrases like model immigrants, right? And we all know what that means. That is simply a way to persecute other minorities in the future or in the present. Model minorities? Like what? All Asians are really smart at math? That's where we're going with this? One of the good ones, maybe. You're one of the good ones. And that's the compliment. So Naamod has a point here, if you catch my drift. Anyway, now, Naamod is a movement of British Jews seeking to end the community's support of the Israel occupation. Now, outside the venue, there are more protests by another activist group called the Jewish Bloc for Palestine. They held up signs of Farage's comments made to Jewish pupils when he attended Dulwich College. I mean, at least he's not getting milkshaked anymore. Watch this.
Now, if you're worried about our country falling apart, I've got hopeful news. Other countries are falling apart faster. Because there's news out of England this week about far-right leader and alien adjusting to his new skin suits. Nigel Farage. On Monday, Farage, who founded the Brexit Party, was walking through the English city of Newcastle when he was hit with an unusual form of protest. There he is, he's the guy in the suit, walking in the middle, and up comes a guy and boom, hits him with a milkshake. Okay, now listen, now hold on. Look, I don't approve. That is the difference between our two countries. No American would ever willingly give up dessert.
Yeah. Listen, before we start, Nigel Farage has denied all allegations of him being a racist. I gotta say that, right? And an anti-Semite, and I gotta say that too. And, of course, of racist and anti-Semitic slurs, which we wouldn't have to make excuses for the first two if that hadn't been done. But he denies it. You see, YouTube, good and decent family of YouTube, there have already been multiple reports in the past of him doing just those things. Yeah, of course. Most recently, many former classmates have come forward to document the anti-Semitism and racism they suffered from him themselves when they were all at private school.
Allegations of Nigel Farage's extreme racism when a student at private school are not going away. 28 of his former schoolmates and teachers have now come forward to accuse Farage of anti-Semitism and racism, including apparent support for the Nazis when he was at Dulwich College. These included Peter Ettedgui, he's an Emmy and BAFTA-winning director who spoke to Good Morning Britain this week.
Well, he regularly would come up to me and say, Hitler was right. And he'd also come up to me and he'd go, gas them.
Are you Jewish?
Yes, I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish, yeah.
So he was specifically, you say, targeting you because you are Jewish with the most hurtful comments that someone could say to a Jew.
My German Jewish grandparents had escaped Nazi Germany in 1937. So I kind of grew up knowing about the Holocaust and everything that happened. So this, it was the first time I'd ever been targeted for anti-Semitic abuse in my life.
YouTube. Even former teachers at Dulwich College have said the similar things. These are teachers, not just classmates. One described him as a neo-fascist. Hope, Not Hate, has also reported on Nigel's anti-Semitism and racism. Here you go. He skipped university, instead going straight to the city to trade commodities. His father was a stockbroker, so there's no nepotism there. Anyway, not really the career path of your average school leaver at the time, huh? The fact that we're even talking about this is because he paints himself as a working class man of the people. Have we heard that before, America? Who loves a pint down at the pub. And he understands everyday concerns when in reality, he begged with Coots and Company, whose other clients include members of the British royal family, which is completely out of the reach of your average working class UK citizen. So there's that. He left the Tory party in 1992 after the signing of the Maastricht Treaty and became one of the founding members of the UK Independence Party, UKIP. After he left the UKIP, he set up the Brexit Party. Oh no, say it ain't so. I don't see it going this way at all for someone who's definitely not racist, definitely not anti-Semitic, definitely of the working class, and definitely not rich enough to never be affected by a Brexit. Never saw it coming. And then he changed the name to Reform. Yeah, he changed the name. Brexit Party is now Reform because Brexit was a fucking piece of shit joke. And everybody who's even tied to it or associated with it in any way is now going to be seen as the idiots that they are. So they just change the name. Very American of you. I see where we get it from. You don't like that? Yeah, just accept it. Accept that. The day after Brexit, the UKIP deleted all the amazing things Brexit was promising. To be clear, people, all of these parties are considered to be right or far right by the UK standards. The US equivalent would be MAGA Republicans. They campaign on anti-immigrant, low taxation, small state policies, including privatization of the NHS. There's one thing you guys haven't fallen for yet. We're looking to you. Because Lord knows we can't seem to get that figured out yet. Our healthcare system still sucks. Ass. Anyway, Farage was a Eurosceptic member of the European Parliament before Brexit. Once Brexit happened, he left the European Parliament, which he had rallied against the evils of for years, but still intends to collect his EU pension when he turns 63. It's about 73,000 euros a year. No big deal.
Important. There are 22,000 people who either receive or who are in line for EU pensions.
And you're one of them.
But of course, it just happens to be me they're talking about. No mention of Kinnock or Mandelson or anybody. All I can say is, given the arbitrary way the European Union behaves in terms of money, I'd be very surprised if I get any of it.
Well, can I ask you
very surprised if I get any of it?
Can I ask you a different question? Can I ask you a different question? This is your moment on live television to say that I will stick by my principles. I, Nigel Farage, would not accept this pension.
Oh, I'm not going to get it anyway. So it won't. I don't think this will even occur.
But if it did, you wouldn't take it.
Oh, I would. Of course, I would take it. I've said that right from day one. Well, of course.
Now that was from 2017 BBC. Here's Bob Geldof during the Brexit.
Nigel, you're a fraud. Here are the facts about fishing. Britain makes more money than any other country in Europe from fishing. 2, Britain has the second largest quota for fish in Europe after Denmark. 3, Britain has the third largest landings. 4th, you are no fisherman's friend. You were on the European Parliament Fishing Committee and you attended 1 out of 43 meetings. You're a fraud, Nigel. Go back down the river because you're up one without a canoe.
Now, like a certain Orange Barnum and Bailey performer pretending to be president that I know, what Nigel says doesn't always, if ever, meet reality. Okay? Farage has spoken of his admiration of Enoch Powell and can even quote Enoch Powell's famous Rivers of Blood speech from memory. But he definitely is not a racist. Just getting that clear. All right. And he also seems to think that Vladimir Putin is the leader he admires the most. So the legends who are led by donkeys did this.
My name is Sean Pinner, a former British soldier with the Royal Anglian Regiment who joined Ukrainian Marines to resist Russia's brutal invasion. My family are Ukrainian and Mariupol was my home. In 2022, I was captured during the siege of Mariupol, tortured by Russian-backed forces and sentenced to death in a show trial. I was eventually freed in a prisoner exchange. But today, I want to talk to you about Nigel Farage. When Russia launched this full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Farage didn't blame Putin, he blamed NATO, the West and Britain. Soon, Putin was targeting apartment blocks like this one in Kiev. This building was hit during a combined missile and drone attack, killing at least 14 civilians as they slept. Farage once described Putin as the world leader he admires the most. In 2018, he cast doubt on evidence that Russia was responsible for the Salisbury Novichok poisoning. A year later, Farage voted against a European Parliament resolution aimed at tackling Russian disinformation.
Now, this has to be a bit awkward, I'm sure, especially after the former leader of Reform UK plc in Wales, Nathan Gill, is currently serving 10 years. 10 years for taking Russian money.
Then there's Nathan Gill. Gill was a leader of Farage's Reform Party in Wales and served alongside him as an MEP. In November 2025, he was sentenced to more than 10 years in jail for taking Russian-backed bribes to give pro-Russian speeches in the European Parliament. WhatsApp messages secured by the British police showed Gill's relationship with his Russian-linked paymaster, Oleg Voloshin. In one message, Voloshin writes, "I've secured €4,000 for you. Deal?" Gill replies with a thumbs up. When Gill was arrested, police found bundles of cash in a safe at his home. Reform Party Chairman Zahir Yusuf claimed Gill was a peripheral figure, saying, quote, "Most people in the senior leadership have never really heard of the guy." Really? There are numerous photos of Farage and Gill together. In 2016, Farage personally appointed Gill to the UKIP leadership in Wales, praising him, saying they worked closely together. Farage's deputy, Richard Tice, also campaigned with Gill repeatedly.
Please welcome to the stage Nathan Gill.
And here's a photo of Farage with Nadia Sass, whose husband is Oleg Voloshin, the man who bribed Nathan Gill.
The court regards bribery as a malignancy at the heart of public life, one that impoverishes the national interest. Those entrusted with public leadership are required to adhere to the highest standards of probity. The law will respond to such breaches with stern punishment, both to mark society's condemnation and to deter others from similar transgressions. The sentence on count 2 is 5 years imprisonment. The sentence on all other counts except count 4 is 5 years concurrent. The sentence on count 4 is 5.5 years consecutive, making a total sentence of 10.5 years.
Let's go to BBC News. Former Reform in Wales leader Nathan Gill jailed for pro-Russian bribery. So Nigel would have everyone believe he was a proper British patriot. Here's Nigel's patriotism on display when a few years ago, RTE's Claire Byrne called out his hypocrisy on Brexit.
Courts, vegetables rotting in the ground, shipping containers being turned away from the ports. What's going on in Brexit Britain? Well, earlier I caught up with Nigel Farage. So Nigel, we wanted to catch up with you to see how you think Brexit is going, because I know you'll know that here in this country we've been seeing pictures of people fighting over fuel at petrol stations, and that...
Now, it's a bit early in the day, so all I've got actually is coffee, but I hope you enjoy a few pints with the lads tonight. Up the Ra!
Up the Ra, Nigel.
The point is, Nigel loves money. In fact, back in his UK IP days, he was a rallying voice against offshore bank accounts. Imagine his surprise when a journalist pointed out he had one in the Isle of Man. He was bankrolled by Aaron Banks during the Brexit campaign, including 13,000 euros a month on rent to live in Chelsea. I mean, this is the type of gaslighting you would only expect from us. Seeing what we're seeing across there is disheartening, guys. It's disheartening. I'll continue. He's also appeared several times on Alex Jones' InfoWars and has appeared as a guest at Trump rallies and also has been on the RT, which is currently banned in the UK. Now, let's get to the part of the PLC. In the very beginning, I said, that's strange. We got to talk about Nigel Farage. Now, he's the leader of the Reform UK PLC, supposed to be a party. We'll get to that later on. This is why PLC is highly irregular in the UK politics, because it means ultimately that he's in charge and he makes the rules. It means that the party doesn't have to follow the same rules when it comes to political donations or deciding policy. Yeah, so just think of Donald Trump's Board of Peace in Gaza if it were just one nation. That's that. Nobody knows where donations come from. They don't have to follow the same rules, and only one person is in charge until he dies. Well, that's what seems to me a PLC is as well. Now, Farage's party has taken 75% of donations from 3 people. All of them were former conservative donors, and because Nigel is a man of the people, I can't even say it without laughing. His donors are just normal, everyday people, like hedge fund managers, millionaire property developers and investment bankers, the salt of the earth kind. You know what I mean? Yeah, those guys down the pub. Like a lot of far-right politicians, a lot of what they say doesn't sync with the facts. Here's the last legs Adam Hill on some of Nigel's facts.
One question being asked this week is why Sir Jim was even talking about immigration in the first place. Well, turns out he recently met with Nigel Farage. Worst blunt rotation ever. But it does make you wonder what policies might Reform be planning that would appeal to a billionaire. Meanwhile, Farage also spouted a whole bunch of figures this week that were patently One question being asked this week is why Sir Jim was even talking about immigration in the first place. Well, turns out he recently met with Nigel Farage. Worst blunt rotation ever. But it does make you wonder what policies might Reform be planning that would appeal to a billionaire. Meanwhile, Farage also spouted a whole bunch of figures this week that were patently untrue. Firstly, he said 1 million people in the UK can't speak English. According to the Office for National Statistics, that number is 161,000. He then said 4 million people speak bad English. Less than a quarter of what he said. He also said there are tube signs popping up in foreign languages all over London. No, the truth is there are 2 places with permanent station names in a foreign language. One's been up since the mid-90s, the other one was put up to commemorate the local community. So the insinuation that multiple tube signs are being erected in foreign languages is
a turd the size of Disneyland Paris.
As well as taking in Tory defections, last week one of the Reform members spoke of fertility checks for young girls and women. This is Heritage Foundation stuff, guys. This is where we are. He's the candidate running in the Gorton and Denton by-election. And he's also said previously that the people who don't have children should be taxed more as a punishment.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Reform's agenda is a bit like MAGA's Project 2025. Now, as just the icing on the cake, as if the proof isn't in the pudding, as it were, they need to put more orange food coloring in it. Here's Nigel trying to emulate President Trump. Here he is completely dismissing a reporter for the Financial Times because he doesn't like the questions. This man thinks he's going to be the next prime minister, y'all.
My first question's to Zia Youssef. You've no doubt seen the incredibly violent scenes unfolding at the hands of ICE in the US.
Notice the question asked by Anna Gross is to Mohammed Zia Youssef.
And yet you've boasted about creating the UK's version of that here that would round up hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants.
So, just so you can watch what happens with some insight, here someone points out Anna Sophie Gross asked Zia Youssef a question about UK ICE and Suella Braverman about state schools. Nigel Farage doesn't allow either to respond and dismisses in a Trump-style patronising way the questions in their entirety. This tells a lot about Farage and his project.
And deport them. Do you really believe that the British public want a Trump 2.0 immigration policy? And my second question is to you, Suella. You went to a private school that charges £17,000 a year.
Oh dear, you better emigrate, I think. I mean, clearly, it's absolutely appalling. What a terrible human being she must be.
Not at all, not at all. Richard, Nigel, Robert and Zia, I believe, all went to expensive private schools.
Very good, what fun.
What do you say to members of the public who might query your party's commitment and belief in state education? And are you able to confirm whether your children go to state schools?
By the way, I love the FT. It's fantastic. The day after the big Mandelson story broke, your front page politics story was about a reform councillor in Kent. So we'll leave it there and we'll move on. We'll leave it there. There's no point. There's no point. Just write some silly story tomorrow and have fun with it.
Another person highlights, all copied from the Trump playbook, ICE immigration policy and the same dismissive, rude attitude towards the press. Farage cannot cope with scrutiny.
And we won't bother to read it.
So, Reform wants the UK to become some sort of a Handmaid's Tale. Let's hope that the Green Party candidate wins, huh? On the other hand, there's one thing I do find pretty neat, and that is, at least over there, they're still able to laugh at Nigel Farage. They're still able to laugh out loud, and there's still boisterous response. And they don't even have anybody in the streets being kidnapped. They don't have concentration camps yet, even though they do over-prosecute for free speech violations. They don't really have that amendment, quite frankly. So reporters have been sent to jail for way too long, but they're not masked agents in the street kidnapping foreigners or people who look brown. They're still able to laugh at Nigel Farage there, and they're still arresting PDO files found in the Epstein files. If there's anything else that can pile on the embarrassment of an American, it's that the American child raping ring can't find anyone to arrest in a place of freedom. But over there, where they still have a king and a queen, and child rapists are still finding themselves in the back of police cars. So I wouldn't laugh too hard just yet. America, the time to fight is now. Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're gonna pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads, it's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works.